Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on a Thursday, June 17th. LA Galaxy back in action. Full capacity game coming your way on Saturday. LA Galaxy versus the number one team in Major League Soccer, the Seattle Sounders. We have a bunch to get to. A lot of Galaxy news. We have the first sort of release of what you're going to experience whenever you get into the stadium as well. So we're going to talk about that tonight. So a little breaking news, and then we'll follow that up on Friday with a press release, and everybody will find out everything. There's Juneteenth to talk about. We have international duty. We have a media call. Oh my God, so much stuff. I'm excited to be here. I'm hoping you're excited to be here as well to help me do all of this. We're very excited. This is big news. I'm gonna fanboy a little bit over here, but we have the Spectrum SportsNet sideline reporter, Miss Nikki K. Nikki, how's it going?
Woo! What a party!
Are you excited?
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. It's been like, it was when we first got the schedule released and first of all, thank you for having me on. But when we first got the schedule release of all the broadcast games, Joe, Kobe, and I all looked at it and we're like, June 19th? That's our first one? But you know what? It kind of breaks in our favor because we get full capacity.
Yes.
So I'm more than thrilled. I get to be on the field. I get to actually ask players questions in person. I get to join you in the press box at some point. It's really a thrill and a privilege. So thank you for having me on.
We're so excited to have you. I know we talked whenever you were first announced, and we sort of said hi real quick and that type of thing. And then you were in the press box. I stopped by and said hi, just that way we could see each other face to face, mask to mask, as it were in the early days there. And it was fun because we had a nice little conversation. You and I have had a bunch of little conversations overall, and I can tell everybody, this is just from my experience, so I'll tell everybody, but you're locked and loaded. You're ready to go. I can tell you're excited. You are engaged. You're asking great questions in our media calls. I'm excited to have you on. I'm glad we have you. There's Galaxy knowledge here on both sides of this screen.
Well, thank you. And it honestly, the culture of this team, and from what I understand in the years past, has made it so much easier to step into as a newbie in the era of Zoom, right? And friendly faces like yourself. But I know winning cures all, but I can't help but be excited about the messages that Greg Vanney seems to provide actually have landing spots with the athletes and the players. And so everyone's been just such a treat so far. So I feel very, very lucky.
Yeah, it is a fun, overall in the press box, it's tight knit. I know the fans are fairly welcoming. And by the way, winning solves a lot of the issues whenever it's not. So winning is a good thing in the Galaxy there. But, it was funny because you were talking to Julian Araujo, I think, and you were saying that maybe you guys had some soccer commonalities there, right? Can you tell a little bit about that story?
We do. In fact, Julian hails from the 805. I grew up in Santa Barbara, California, and I first dabbled in AYSO soccer, but the big soccer club in the 805, even though Julian's neighborhood is a little bit further north, if I'm getting, or south, I get all turned up, but he played for Santa Barbara Soccer Club as well. And it's really the dominant kind of advanced club that if you have interest in playing soccer outside of AYSO, that's who you play for.
Yeah, it was a fun little connection there. I know Julian is, I think In strange ways, I think Julian might actually be living at the apartment complex that I was living at one point. So that was weird. I saw an Instagram story and I'm like, I know that place. Yep, that's the place.
I know that courtyard.
I know that courtyard. So anyways, no, Julian's great too. So much fun to talk to. How'd you get involved with Spectrum? Because see, this is the fanboy part of this, is that I've told you this. I was watching you and Kristen on Spectrum News during the pandemic, especially in the morning with a baby and being home. I was like Spectrum News every single morning because I didn't want to hurt myself afterwards. Most news, I'm like, this is a little too heavy for me, but you guys always kept it. But how'd you get hooked up with all that?
Well, thank you. I mean, and that's first of all what we strive for with Spectrum News is to be balanced and to lighten up people's days and not be the harbingers of doom, right? So I went to UCLA. I love sports. I love talking. So I kind of figured, hey, maybe why not try a shot at this broadcast thing? And my career has taken me from small markets like Twin Falls, Idaho, and then to Oklahoma City, where you're like covering the Thunder and the OU football program. And I mean, they are diehard. So I kind of understand that the passion that soccer fans and the MLS fans and the Galaxy fans feel, because sometimes that can get lost in the big space of LA, right? The Lakers are glitz and glam, and, football is new here, and Dodger fans are great too. And that's not to diminish the fandom out here, but to know it in such a concentrated, special community.
Right.
I think that I really gained that perspective living out of state. And once I was back here, Spectrum News, new launch news channel, and I love the way they approach things, which is telling stories of individuals and characters that everyone can relate to. And honestly, being in the building as the same regional network that produces Lakers, Dodgers, Galaxy, and Sparks. It's been such a privilege. These are the teams I grew up rooting for. So when Megan, who is also a good friend of mine, when she was deciding to move on, the opportunity was presented to me. I did interview for it. It was not handed to me, but I really am excited that, I haven't covered a lot of MLS, but except for the guys on the other side of town. But I'm really, really thrilled to be a part of this family.
And as you said, you don't. I mean, it is strange. Whenever I saw that there would be, all these 7 nationally televised games to start, and then no Spectrum until June 19th, I was like, wow, I don't think that's ever happened before. So it's a long stretch for you guys, but you'll get your first game coming up on Saturday. FYI, everybody, 6 p.m. Kickoff time. Actually, that's not true. 6 p.m. broadcast time, 6:08 p.m. kickoff time. We like to be exacting. That's a new thing, by the way. Everybody announcing when the kickoff time is. It's wonderful. It's taken so much pressure off of me because everybody's always asking me what it is. But so glad to have you. And I know we're going to talk a whole bunch of Galaxy here, but I think I talked to Megan a little bit, and she said you were coming over, and I was all excited about that. So super happy. But tell everybody at the Spectrum News, Spectrum SportsNet, I said hi because I'm big fans of everybody there for sure.
Absolutely, and we are truly, truly grateful for people like you who care. That's what we do our jobs for. So it's nice to know that someone's actually watching.
We all say that, but if they didn't actually broadcast any of this, we'd all just do it anyway, right? Yeah. We would do it without anybody listening. I always say that. I always say we do it for the fans, but at the same time, I'm like, nah, I would be here even if nobody listened. So that's all. That's kind of fun. Yeah. Let's get to the LA Galaxy. We had a media call, and we had something pretty monumental, actually. We had open practice. The first 15 minutes of training were open. Nikki, you were there. I was not, because I never get to make midweek open practices. So that will probably never be a thing you'll see me at anytime soon. So tell me a little bit about open practice. Tell me about what you saw. Just what did it feel like to be back there at the field as well?
It honestly felt special, and to be there present, watching. This is what we do for our jobs, is to watch these practices in person and live. And after a year and a half of not having that, to be on that field was so great. But what I noticed right off the bat was the levity and the joy that these guys trotted back onto the field with after about 3 weeks off. And they started off doing these great drills that were like almost team bonding exercises that were harkened back to AYSO days, where all the guys are standing in lines, like passing balls over under their heads, and then sprinting around the cone. And what I loved is the competitive nature. You could see the reaction of the guys when one line would beat the other. And it was funny because I didn't really notice what was going on. They were far away from us on the other side of the field during their warm-ups. But then all of a sudden I look through and see the guys rolling balls through the legs of their teammates. I was like, that doesn't look like a soccer drill. But the keepers were right by us. And, Bondi, Gatto was just dominating Bondi. And we were like, even at his age, he's still crushing it. So
he's a competitive dude.
Yeah, what I can tell you, all the words, the lip service we've been hearing, it's not lip service, sorry. All the things we've been hearing from the players about brotherhood and family, what I saw firsthand reinforced that. There was cheering, there was joy. At one point, Jonathan came over to talk to, some of the field players, which I think in a lot of soccer practices, the goalies or the keepers are normally pretty separate.
Right.
And so it just seemed good energy all around.
Yeah, it was funny. Justin in the chat room says, do we have any updates on when fans are able to go back to Galaxy training sessions? I give it a little bit of time. Technically speaking, you're never allowed. Okay, let's just start with that. You're never allowed to go. And then let's tell you you're absolutely allowed to go. But just give it a little feel out period, because I'm not sure everybody even understands sort of where we're at with all these different rules and different things that are going on. But soon. I'm feeling it, and it feels soon. In fact, this whole ripping off the Band-Aid on June 15th thing seems very quick and maybe a little too quick, but at the same time, you know what? Just go for it. I think a lot of people are going to be ready to party here coming on Saturday, so I expect that. But then we do open practice. You see all that stuff. By the way, I liked it. You were talking to Greg Vanney, and let's get to the media call as well. You were talking to Greg Vanney, and you sort of said, hey, it looked like you guys were having fun. Maybe some ASO drills out there. And Greg goes, uh-oh. And I was laughing because I'm like, no. I get if you watch the videos and you see what they were doing. Yeah, absolutely. It was fun. It was the idea was that they weren't being so serious. And then Greg made sure to sort of nail that. Listen, we were serious right after you guys left.
I know. And the fact that he broke down those drills with the most scientific explanation, I was trying so hard not to burst out in laughter. He's like, our sports science team feels that sometimes this is the most efficient way to get players to warm up. And I was like, he didn't say it so, callously as that, but he did try and couch it in a little bit more of a more relevant context.
Right.
But I was just trying to get out, hey, looked like the guys that were having fun out there. And if that's part of your philosophy as a coaching staff, I think that's tremendous, because it truly showed with the joy that the athletes were showing as well.
Well, and listen, Greg Vanney, I don't know how to explain this to people. I've been through a bunch of coaches. I've been through Bruce Arena. Bruce Arena never does anything with any purpose, but everything has a purpose. It's like, no, we just do it for this reason. But Bruce in his mind is like, there's 17 different layers of why he just had them run this different drill. Yeah. And
he's playing chess.
Yeah, he is. Oh, well, that was always my argument. Bruce is playing chess when everybody else is playing checkers, right? You didn't even know you were playing chess, and Bruce just, you're done. You're over with. Greg absolutely has 100 million different reasons why he does every single drill, and it is, he was talking about the long break and being off, and he goes, for me, I had plenty of stuff to keep myself busy. And you can imagine Greg Vanney sitting there watching film, going over and over different things, putting out different plans, doing different training things. This is who Greg Vanney is. And I remember when we had him on the show, I sort of said, most players go into coaching because they can't play anymore. That's why they do it. And he was like, almost like, no, I want to be a coach. Like, that's why I'm a coach, is I like to coach people. And it wasn't one of the, and that's a different perspective than you got from a lot of the different coaches I've talked to over the years. Bruce is a coach because he's a coach. That made sense. Kurt Analfo was a player and then became a coach, but certainly you got the I was done playing, it's time for me to coach thing out of that. Siggy Schmidt has always been a coach, UCLA, and all those different things. By the way, we do have a Pac-12 rivalry going on because Arizona State and UCLA, so that's fine. No, it wasn't. At least you're not USC. If it was USC, there would be a mute button and we'd be done. But UCLA, I can handle, not a problem. Plenty of friends at UCLA. So you had all those different things, but Greg is this guy who's going to sit in his garage and he's going to tinker and he's going to find different ways, and he's going to think outside the box, and he's going to think inside the box, and then he's going to go for a walk around the block while he thinks about all these different things. He is a guy who will drive himself crazy if he doesn't understand every single detail. So him explaining those drills absolutely 100%. Yes, he was trying to justify it, but at the same time, that's 100% why he does them too. It's like, well, I hated warming up whenever I was a player, and it was like, yep, I get it. Understood. Trying to break the monotony, right?
Yeah, no, and I do think out of a lot of the professional sports, the elite soccer players are perhaps amongst the most perfectionists and detail obsessive, and that makes complete sense with what you're saying. And I loved that Greg gave us a detailed breakdown of why those fun drills were helpful and constructive. But he could have also just said, hey, sometimes warming up sucks, and it's a great way to have some levity coming back after a long break. But I also do appreciate how he sees every reason that those drills are worth their while.
Man, it's a night and day difference just in terms of how he sort of manages things. From my perspective, seeing and talking to people over these years, night and day. That's the other things Greg talked about. Jonathan Dos Santos, because you asked him about injury, which, by the way, thank you for asking about injuries, because I was driving and I couldn't ask, and I was hoping somebody would ask about injuries. So injury report, basically it's everybody but Jonathan Dos Santos. Jonathan Dos Santos working through his return to play. And Greg talks about return to play, and understand that when Greg is talking about it, he is talking about this process that they go through in order to check off all the boxes that says, I am ready to come back and play and train and be in a game. And so that's that return to play process. He was, I think, jogging on the side whenever you guys were doing on the
we
side.
saw Jonah running a couple of laps around, and he had a big old grin on his face, waved hi to us each time he jogged laps. So he didn't look to be in pain. Obviously, right. I don't know what he was feeling, but he was out there with the guys doing some separate drills, though, for his physical well-being.
The other important thing, and you talked about the San Jose game. You asked about the San Jose game in trying to understand sort of what was going to happen here in the Seattle game. But you talked about, and this has been a theme on the show, we talk about getting Chicharito help, right? You talked about Efrain Alvarez playing up higher. You talked about Kevin Cabral playing up higher. And if you look at, and everybody on this show is going to roll their eyes, if you look at average positions, there's a chart that shows key passing on the MLS website, but it also shows average position. It doesn't tell you it shows average position, but it shows you average position. And what you can see is that in that San Jose game, that Efrain Alvarez had a higher average position up the field than Chicharito did. And almost in that same line was Kevin Cabral. So you had Kevin Cabral, you had Efrain Alvarez, you had Chicharito. And this is going to be important coming up in the Seattle game, is how they link and how they try to find Chicharito in these games. And I thought Greg sort of talking about this, and he always gets it because everybody wants, and I think there's this need from the fan base certainly, is everybody wants there to be two strikers up top. They need somebody to help Chicharito because it has been determined, and I think it's probably right, is that Chicharito needs help. Up there. He's not going to be the creator, but he can play off of a creator or play off of a playmaker, or needs another guy to sort of split some of that stuff in order to be a very effective goal scorer. And listening to Greg sort of answer about how this is, he is taking the theme and he keeps progressing it, which is, we like to have guys up top with him. We want that to happen. It doesn't mean they're in a striker position. It means that they're going to make those runs in there for Chicharito. And sometimes it's about how Chicharito reacts off of those things, whether it's dropping deep or whether it's pushing up over across the line. It's the varied positions and making sure that they are not always predictable, right? And it's that. And I thought just sort of looking into his mind that way, and certainly he talked about San Jose being, a one-off team and their man-to-man marking and how you can sort of create positions. But again, you listen to Greg talk and you can see the gears turning in his head about how he's trying to open up and create offense for this LA Galaxy. And he was disappointed in basically that final critical stage of play, that the Galaxy didn't finish those off. And so looking at the Seattle game, and as we transition more to that, that's going to be, I think, the big key is how the LA Galaxy do in that final third. What happens in that final pass?
Well, I think it's really interesting, too. I mean, all of Javier's goals have come within the 18, and that's where he specializes, right? He is the finisher. And where I was trying to make the connection, even though San Jose is that unique, they present a unique sort of look for the Galaxy. But there is some commonality with the theme of the struggle the Galaxy faced against in their initial loss to Seattle, is that they weren't pressuring their wide center backs enough, right? So how is this attack going to continue to create pressure around this back line that can be 5 wide at some point, right? And You hope that the speed of Kevin can be making some of those deeper runs, but what you don't want is Chicharito to not be in the position where he can be the threat that he is. So I don't know if that was missing against San Jose, or who's necessarily not reacting off the other in the right way. But that's kind of what I was trying to be like, all right, there's other guys up there in position, but like you said, the final exclamation point wasn't being dotted.
Right. And that's what you see. Well, let's go to Chicharito now, too, because, this was interesting to hear him talk. He talked before Greg, which doesn't normally happen. Usually Greg talks first, then we get players. This time Chicharito talks first. By the way, you can go watch the full media call on our website, cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can find it there. And I always put them in the order that they speak, just that way everybody knows. Because there's references sometimes to things that go back. And so if you're listening to a reporter's question out of sequence, it might not make sense. So just FYI, you can go watch that cornerofthegalaxy.com. So Chicharito spoke first. One of the things is, and I loved it, is Nikki, he's not going to give you any of his tactics. And I love it whenever they say there's no tactic. Like, I'm not going to, Greg can say whatever he wants because he's the manager, but me, I'm not going to tell you how we're planning on attacking Seattle.
That was a new, being new to the group. That's something new I learned, right. But I had to ask it because I also, you hope that they can understand, like, hey, I'm asking you tactical questions as well as questions about your mental health, as well as questions about your emotions. We care about the whole picture, right? But I appreciated that he answered me with a little cheeky grin too. Yes. At the same time, I was like, okay, good. Don't give away your tricks. I appreciate that.
I mean, that's always the funny. So we get that answer on occasion, right? That is the answer. Sometimes it's like, well, I'm not going to tell you what we're going to do against Seattle because we want to, we're going to keep it quiet. And sometimes the coaches even say it, and that's fine too. The real thing here is that Greg has put together a plan. I don't know if the way Chicharito responded. It almost seems like Greg has something up his sleeve again, which he tried in Seattle the first time, and the Galaxy lost 3-0, and he took a lot of the credit on that Seattle thing. And by the way, Pam in chat room says no one has gotten through Nuhu in MLS so far this season, right? And so looking at Chicharito trying to get back in behind, that back line of Seattle is going to be. I mean, it's the biggest thing. Mm-hmm. That was one of the things. But Chicharito here doesn't seem concerned. I thought the biggest thing, and there always is a focus for him on Mexico because with the Mexican national team and how it goes, is he threw cold water on the idea that he's on the preliminary roster and that he's going to go to the Gold Cup and everything. It wasn't so much, hey, that's not going to happen. It was more like, hey, pump the brakes. Let's wait till I'm on the final roster. I've been on preliminary rosters before, so this is nothing. And I'm not going to make it anything until it's something, which I think I appreciate a lot of times with the national team stuff. I like guys, especially on the Galaxy, bringing it back to Galaxy things, which is, I'm worried about this game. Let's talk about this and sort of how it goes. And then just... he seemed genuine, and I haven't talked to him enough to really know, but he seems genuine, Nikki, whenever he says that he can't wait for fans to be back in the stadium. And that was sort of a thing across all three of the guys, Sebastian Lletget, Greg Vanney, and Chicharito, which is the excitement about a full-capacity crowd. I mean, everybody, fans, media, everybody, players are ready for this full-capacity game.
I think one thing you can guarantee with Chicharito is that he plays with his heart on his sleeves, right? And he's almost like the Danny Rojas of, I mean, maybe
Ted Lasso reference. There we go.
Yes, there is the Danny Rojas in him, and I love watching his emotions when maybe his shots off target, or and to me that shows that he cares, and it's meaningful to him. So when he lights up about Dignity Health Sports Park being at full capacity and the supporters being there, I think it's genuine. And I think, if anything, he's going to feed off that emotion in this game. But what I did really also take away from something Greg said is that, having this crowd at full capacity, having a packed stadium, the emotions are going to be high. And the key for the team is to play measured, controlled, and intelligent off the top, and not press too hard, right? You don't want to be reckless. So I thought that was very, nobody was asking about that, which I thought that was very interesting of Greg to bring up. And I do think he has the perspective of a player, which is helping him in kind of maybe set the tone for this team. Like, hey, let's come out and we're going to play with control and intellect first.
Yeah, I mean, that is a great... It's because I think media were so worried that it's going to cool them down, that this break is going to cool them down, that you're not so worried about the other side of this, which is the guys are going to come out all jacked up, coming off this break, playing against the number one team, having fans in the stadium. I mean, there's so many things that are escalators in this. And sometimes as a coach, you want that there. You want that full sort of, hey, go get it, don't hold anything back sort of look. And then sometimes you want them to be smart. And I think Greg's saying, I know the energy is going to be there, so I want them to be smart. I'm not worried about that. So there was that. What about Sebastian Lletget? Anything you take away from Sebastian's talk with us just before we move on to international duty?
Well, it was just nice to hear him talk about returning from his national team responsibility and being excited. And, maybe he could say that any year, but he also had a really high moment with that team. And to come back and be excited about having practice with his MLS squad, being back for a full crowd, I thought that was significant. And I felt it was genuine too. So I think that was fun hearing from him, and it'll be nice to have him kind of back, in the mix too.
Yeah, and I said this on one of the shows a couple times ago, is that Sebastian Lletget has played better for the U.S. men's national team than he has for the LA Galaxy, and I think that's going to change. But I don't know when that's going to change, right? I don't know when Sebastian Lletget is going to sort of hit his stride with the Galaxy in that system, in a spot with consistency. We haven't seen a lot of, a lot of Sebastian Lletget, just one with being suspended for the games that he was at the beginning, and then he goes away with the national team. So I mean, he has been missing from this lineup, and that's sort of the consistency has been missing from this entire LA Galaxy team in the first 7 games. We can say that there's been a lot of additions and things like that. There has been, but we haven't had that consistency that you really want to get, which means that we can't really take the temperature of this team and sort of really figure out where they're at. I know a lot of people are saying they're out, so they're out kicking their coverage right now. They're playing sort of above themselves, and I don't know if that's true yet. I have a feeling, looking at expected goals, that some of that is true. Because if you go back and look at expected goals, the Galaxy have not been on the expected goals positive side over their opponent a whole bunch of times. But there's clearly quality here. I'm not going to dismiss that.
Yeah, but then again, I guess I have a little bit of issue with the whole concept of expected goals when it comes to this club in particular, because there are so many new pieces coming together. I mean, you think about the absence of Sebastian, the absence of Victor, who are supposed to be two of this team's best players, right? The guys who pull the puppet strings. And it's funny because I was kind of trying to find a way to articulate having Sebastian back in the mix. I was like, I mean, I know he's been around, but he hasn't really been around, but he hasn't really made an impact. So it is interesting, and to have Victor back, which Greg insinuated by not addressing him having any health concerns. I mean, Derek's out of the mix now too. Right. So it's just it's going to be really interesting. And I almost feel like, hey, look at everything they're managing with this moving carousel of faces and names coming in and out, and yet they're still finding ways to win games, which they are. I don't know. I don't know.
You can only win the games they put in front of you, Nikki. We know that, right? So, I mean, you have to, an A+ for the LA Galaxy so far. I mean, really, you look at the blowout in Seattle and then a 10-man loss to Portland. Those are the 2 worst games that the LA Galaxy have played. They've had some not so great games that they've won, but a sign of a good team is winning games that you shouldn't win sometimes, right? And
exactly.
I will say this, and I felt this from the very beginning. There's, in MLS, there's so much parity that sometimes all it takes is like that 1% difference, right? And if you're willing to work harder than everybody else, you can make up that 1% sometimes. And this LA Galaxy team, which you can't say over the past maybe 3 or 4 years, this LA Galaxy team will outwork anybody in the league. And because of that, I think they're going to get more of the breaks, right? You have to get lucky, but working really hard also lets you get lucky. And that's sort of where these guys seem to go. So, yeah, I mean, the media call was good. The only thing that didn't get asked, which I can give you an update on now, is about Ryan Ravioli, and that's not how we say his name, but until he gets here and tells me how to say it.
Ryan Ravioli.
However he wants me to say it, I will say it, but I try to be accurate. I just can't yet until we hear him. I actually asked PR, and they're like, we're gonna have to ask when he gets here. I'm like, Roger, okay, cool. But I did talk to the Galaxy today, asking about Ravioli, where he was with his visa, everything like that. They said they did not expect him, that he was not in the United States, and they did not expect him to arrive this week. Kevin Baxter followed that up with a little bit and said that he talked to both Dennis DeClosa and Greg Vanney, and they're hopeful that he will arrive next week. And that seems to be more based in fact than just fantasy as it goes. And I would just like to remind everybody, Nikki, because I saw this on Twitter as soon as I put it out, is everybody's like, what? This guy signed like 2 months ago. It's been less than a month since he signed. So we're really at like 4 weeks right now where it goes.
This might be one of my hottest takes yet, but I might go so far as to say if he's not in the U.S. today, he probably won't be playing on Saturday.
It's a hot take. We will accept that hot take. Yeah, he's not going to be playing. Somebody asked me if quarantine rules had changed. I will say no, for the most part, they really haven't from what I've seen. But I'll also tell you this. I don't expect that's going to stop anybody playing anytime soon. I think that everybody is doing the best they can with testing and everything else. And I also think that the quarantine rules aren't as hardwired as everybody thinks they are. So just FYI on all that stuff. Let's go quickly on to international duty, because it's something we talked about on Monday's show. It was something I was a little fired up about. Augie Williams and Sierra Leone. We talked about the suspect COVID tests that were delaying things, and there was supposed to be a game on Monday. They were supposed to play, and then all of a sudden I think 8 players on Sierra Leone tested positive, even though that morning they had tested negative. So Augie Williams was upset about that. We didn't know what AFCON was going to do with all of that, and what they ended up doing is playing the game the next day, and everybody got to play. The good news is Kai Kamara, MLS Kai Kamara, Cal State Dominguez Hills Kai Kamara, a guy who everybody says should eventually land on the LA Galaxy, but I don't see that happening at least anytime soon, scored a penalty kick, I think in the 18th minute or 19th minute. That was the 1-0 difference. And for the first time in 26 years, I believe, Sierra Leone has qualified for the African Cup of Nations. So Augie Williams will probably be on some international duty, international breaks whenever this comes up. But really, that's kind of fun. If you're a big fan of Augie Williams and what's going on, that's fun. That's a fun thing to see.
It's so remarkable seeing him. You see the picture with him and the flag around his shoulders, and you've got to imagine. I mean, to be able to represent your country and be able to be a part of history like that at such a young age, that's a memory that you don't lose. That's with you forever. It's an accomplishment forever. And it's really special. And I'm so excited that he got to experience that and be a part of this team. So, I'm a Sierra Leone fan now, too.
I mean, so that's, always whenever we talk about this, there's always so much, and I think MLS overdoes it a little bit. There's so much focus on the U.S. men's national team and on Mexico that you don't get to talk about some of these other things. One of the other, we have people who play for Panama and Honduras,
Costa Rica.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a large gambit that we can cover with all this stuff, and it's fun to sort of get to. I would never watch a Sierra Leone game. I would never watch highlights just because it's not necessarily. But seeing Augie Williams and what they were able to accomplish, and seeing the trials and tribulations. Go back and listen to Monday's show. I sort of laid out a whole bunch of stuff. They got stopped at the border for like 12 hours at a different border because they didn't have COVID tests, and just a ton of stuff. So
corruption at its finest. I don't know anything that. I mean, I'm joking about a matter that shouldn't be joked about, probably. But
it is. I would say that perhaps you're even correct on some of that. Certainly with the COVID tests. I mean, AFCON had to intervene twice on sort of faulty or suspect COVID tests. So that's it. The other guy who's away right now is with Panama, and that's Carlos Harvey. And he is supposed to be back. The only two guys who weren't back from international duty were Augie Williams and Carlos Harvey. Greg said in his press conference, in his media call, not a press conference, I always make that. It's a media call. In his media call, that those are two different things. Press conferences are like glitzy, all right?
So, okay, yeah. Roll out the red carpet.
That's right. So Carlos Harvey and Augie Williams were expected back this week, so we'll see if they made it. He said, as long as there's no passport stuff, and he started laughing because we always talk about passports and visas and everything else, Nikki, and Greg's sort of like, I'm going to be sick of all of this stuff here real soon, so... Always fun. But yeah, so that's where it was. Looking at the World Cup qualifiers for Panama, I did not see Carlos Harvey pick up any minutes in any of the 3 games that they played, because they played, let's see, I think on the 8th, the 12th, and the 15th of this month, and I didn't see Carlos Harvey in any of those. So he was around the team. He was there. I just don't think he was either on the team sheets for any of those games. So I don't think he got any minutes, and trying to find some of that stuff is a little glitchy sometimes.
Yeah,
so we'll see that.
It's hard.
One of the big things going on this Saturday at the game, actually, you know what? Let's stop for a second, because we have a super chat from Herb. Herb with a $25 super chat. We told Herb we're going to make him a memorial, even though he's not dead. It's going to be like the Herb memorial, Corner of the Galaxy desk or something like that.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, Herb says, welcome, Nikki. Shout out to Hammer. As always, can't stress this enough. Great work, Josh. Hashtag Herb Memorial. So there we go.
I think we could maybe get like Herb's name on your mic arm or something.
Yeah, maybe we could put, this is like the Herb Memorial microphone.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, that's right. If anybody has ever looked at the wooden spoon, it was in my office for a whole year, which is an ugly trophy to be looking at for a year. But it's called the Anthony Precourt Memorial Trophy, and that dude ain't dead either. So it's always fun to sort of have
in
memorials.
loving memory.
Oh man, that's an ugly trophy. Don't ever put that in your office. I think it's like a Horcrux, and Harry Potter sort of sucks the life out
No.
of it.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. Let's talk about something a little serious and also something that is new this year, and I'm glad that it is new. The LA Galaxy are going to be celebrating Juneteenth throughout MLS and the Galaxy, and certainly this Saturday coming up. Now, I have to admit, and this has happened in the last year, that really I had no idea what Juneteenth was, and I did not learn this in school. And so it's one of those things that it was fun. I was sitting with my 10-year-old, and we were sort of going over this video today, and I got to explain some of the stuff that I learned. And my 10-year-old also is a history buff, and explained all of the Civil War to me. So it was really interesting how that all goes. But I want to give you sort of an idea of, if you're stupid like me, is that, the Civil War began April 12th, 1861. Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on September 22nd, 1862. The Civil War ends May 9th, 1865. I know there's somebody in our Discord who's going to love that I just did a history lesson on some of this stuff. June 19th, 1865 is whenever we have Juneteenth. And that's whenever news of the Emancipation Proclamation and probably even the end of the Civil War reached Galveston, Texas, which was sort of the last sort of stronghold of slavery there in the United States. And so that's really what this is all about. And it's interesting because today President Biden actually came through and made Juneteenth a federal holiday. So officially a federal holiday. So as everybody celebrates and goes on June 19th, the LA Galaxy are doing a ton of game activations, some really cool numbers that are going to be on the jerseys, and some silent auctions and some stuff. But before we get to any of that, I wanted to get to a video real quick. And this is the LA Galaxy are going to play this video. And I know a lot of times in the stadium, you maybe miss some of this. So I wanted to play it here. So here's a video courtesy of the LA Galaxy about Juneteenth.
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 And American Independence Day.
On June 19th, 1865,
News of the Emancipation Proclamation and the end of the Civil War reached Texas.
Legally ending slavery in the United States.
And by ending one of the most egregious chapters in American history, a celebration of freedom was born.
The holiday was celebrated primarily in the African American community,
And in many cases, in the face of public resistance.
But the celebration persisted.
flourishing with each passing year.
Today, Juneteenth celebrates African American culture and freedom,
while simultaneously bringing awareness to the manners in which that same freedom has been delayed
due to the institutional and systemic oppression in America.
Serving as a pertinent reminder that nobody's free until we all free.
No one is free until we're all free.
No one is free until we're all free.
No one is free until we are all free.
No one is free until we're all free.
All right, so there we go. A little video by the LA Galaxy. That's going to be playing at the stadium, I imagine, during this. I hope everybody in the live chat could hear that, because I'm not sure it came across on my side, but I saw it flashing on the live side. So hopefully we got that for you. So that's the video that's going to be playing. And for all of our audio listens as well, you can go to the stadium and look for that video. Here's some of the things that are going to happen at the LA Galaxy game. There's a whole bunch of things. The Galaxy are going to recognize the East Side Riders Bike Club again, and we have had them on our podcast, and they're just an amazing, fun group. And our interview that we did with them was a ton of fun. So we enjoyed them. So they're going to be sort of recognized as the community partner for the match. There's a special Juneteenth ticket offer. Go to lagalaxy.com, and a portion of all ticket revenue will be benefited East Side Riders Bike Club, so that'll go there as well. There's the Juneteenth flag, which, Nikki, I didn't know there was a Juneteenth flag, and there is one, and I think I got the right one because there's about 7 different versions of it, so that was new for me.
I didn't know there was one either. This is all very informative to me as well, and I think that's, if we can all just kind of sit with this too, because it's so important for us to learn and educate. And I agree with you. I didn't know either. That's awesome.
Yeah, so they're going to do that. The game-worn kits will be available at the silent auction, specially designed number and letter sets on those kits. The Black National Anthem will be sung before the game. Lift Every Voice and Sing is the name of that, so expect that before the game. The hero of the game will be Gladys Jones. Gladys works at MLK Hospital in Willowbrook and has volunteered with the Eastside Riders Bike Club for the last 13 years, including during the COVID-19 pandemic, in which she helped serve a portion of over 300,000 meals distributed by the Eastside Riders Bike Club. So that's awesome. Victoria Block, all of the supporters group in the Victoria Block will be partnering with the Assistance League of Los Angeles to host a school supply drive to improve the quality of life for at-risk children in Los Angeles. All new school supplies can be dropped off at the Victoria Block tailgate behind Galaxy TV near Lot 13. So that's where we sort of sit with all these different things. I think the number kits are amazing. They look great. There's a whole bunch of history behind that as well. If you go on the MLS website, they can sort of give you all of the history of how these were designed, and sort of how they came about, all these different designs and the things that they have there. So a fun little addition to what's going on, and hopefully everybody understands, a day of remembrance more than a day of celebration, but at the same time, understanding sort of what you're going through, whenever you're going to the game and what you're going to be seeing and why all that stuff is. I think there's a lot of symbolism that'll go on in this game. So kind of interesting to dive into it a little bit. That was my afternoon today, was researching all that and taking a look, and I'm better off for it, definitely.
No, absolutely. And this is league-wide too. The MLS is making this push, and every team will be celebrating, remembering appropriately, along with the Black Players for Change. And those jerseys that are auctioned off, those will go to benefit, or proceeds from those will go to benefit Black communities. So I hope that this becomes a day that is kind of, we move forward with in years to come, that becomes like any other day of maybe honoring, and I know celebrating is kind of a loose term, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like it's a day that we can, just like the Pride celebration, right? Like that we can all recognize its importance together. So definitely another cool layer to a big day for this Galaxy fan base.
Yeah, it is. And FYI, Antonio is asking, home white or tech green? It is home white this weekend. And it was always going to be home white whenever you saw the number kits. The home white works with those number kits better than I think the tech green does. Even though they're green, there's going to be a clash of greens in there somewhere. That's why I think we're sort of in that white phase. And I would like to remind everybody, the home team picks the outfit, so the LA Galaxy are going to wear white, and that would force whatever Seattle's going to wear to be dark, with a little bit maybe warmer. I don't know. It's supposed to cool down this weekend, I think, eventually, but it's still a 6 p.m. game, not a 7:30 game. So maybe there's some advantage to playing in the home whites there for the LA Galaxy. Let's get to the standings a little bit, Nikki. We talked about it, mostly focused on the Western Conference today. We are looking at Seattle, who sits at top, 2.25 points per game, 18 points, 5 wins, 0 losses, 3 ties. They are one of the few undefeated teams in Major League Soccer still as it goes. The LA Galaxy are undefeated at home, however, 4-0-0, and they'll put that record on the line there. You have to go a long way down to sort of find some of the favorites in the Western Conference again. Colorado is in 4th, Houston in 5th, San Jose in 6th, Portland in 7th, Salt Lake, LAFC, Austin, Vancouver, Minnesota, Dallas, and then you can go over to the Supporters Shield as well. The LA Galaxy sitting 4th in that. Seattle is 1st, just as everybody's sort of paying attention. But the schedule thing here is a big deal. And the reason it's a big deal is it's not just the Seattle game, Nikki. The Seattle game is a big deal. It's a big deal on its own, but we have a game here that's going to be played on Saturday. Then the LA Galaxy will go to Rio Tinto to play the Vancouver Whitecaps on Wednesday. Then they're going to go to San Jose and PayPal Park on Saturday, June 26th. So it's rapid fire basically from here on out until they get a 10-day break between the Wednesday, July 7th game and that Saturday, July 17th game, which will again be away at Rio Tinto against Vancouver Whitecaps. And that's a little international break there for the Gold Cup that is coming. So, I mean, what do you make of this schedule outside of the Seattle game? Looking past that, this is a rough stretch.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, 3 games in 7 days is what a phrase we've heard out of Greg Vanney's mouth a couple of times over the past media availabilities. And then also on top of that, he really addressed this stretch as the dog days of MLS summer. So, they're getting ready for it. And I think they know this is a big match on Saturday, but I also think they know that it's one of they're going to come hard and fast after this. And I think you look at the caliber of opponents that Seattle, the Sounders are, and the guys are determined, but I think they know one result will not make or break the momentum they've been building towards.
Yeah, I agree with that. Quickly past the schedule, I want to get to the schedule for Saturday because it's time we sort of start talking about the game without talking about the game because there's so much stuff to cover that's happening even before the game. We've talked about it. The LA Galaxy are hosting a welcome home tailgate presented by Modelo on June 19th in conjunction with the return to Capacity Stadium. We look at this. This is the timeline of everything. 12 p.m. Dignity Health Sports Park, parking gates open. 12 to 5:30 p.m. is the welcome home tailgate. 4 to 4:45, special performance by LA artists and Galaxy supporter Murs. There are other performances before that as well, and we've even played. Let's see, can we get the sound? Let me see if I can bring. I've heard that we're gonna get a performance from this guy as well. So I know we played this song a bunch of times on this broadcast as he's led us, but also performing, I believe, at this tailgate. So make sure that you're there early and that you can do it. 6 p.m. the LA Galaxy versus Seattle Sounders comes in. That's the full capacity crowd coming in. Now, in my hot little hands, I have a pre-release that is supposed to come out on Friday. Yeah, I know. Breaking news. Ooh, so special. Nikki, you and I were talking about this beforehand. I was expecting this earlier in the week, and I know... Listen, I talked to the Galaxy. Things are changing like every day in terms of the requirements, and trying to put something down on paper that doesn't change is the difficult part for all of this. And so I wanted to get this to you. We expect that this is basically correct. I sort of have to put this disclaimer. It's basically correct. It's probably not 100% correct. There might be some small details that change, but the main gist of this is going to be true. We wanted to tell you on this show what you could expect whenever you go inside the stadium, when you're around what's going to happen. So face covering. When at Dignity Health Sports Park, all guests, except for children under the age of 2, are strongly recommended to be fully vaccinated or tested for COVID-19 within 3 days before attending this event. If you are not fully vaccinated, it is strongly recommended that you wear a face coverings. These recommendations are compliant with the current guidelines from the state. Those are all strongly recommended and no mandatories. If I read that correctly, is that what you're getting from that there, Nikki?
That is absolutely the recommendations, and the strength of those recommendations I am feeling, and it's also kind of what I'm feeling when I'm walking into any store now, and I'm like, well, I'm vaccinated. Do I need a mask? I guess not.
Right.
It's kind of it's crazy, but yeah, it's all strongly recommended.
Yeah, I will say this. I was in North Carolina, I was in Maryland, and they were open already whenever I went there. And so you get to look at everybody sideways every time you go in. Are you wearing a mask because you're not vaccinated? Are you wearing a mask because you're just being careful? And why am I getting the dirty look while I'm wearing the mask? This is what you're going to do. I'm probably going to wear my mask for some portions of it. Maybe I won't for all of it, but I've been in some group situations recently, and it's sort of like, okay, you sort of have to just feel out what you feel comfortable with. I will tell everybody. They're going on the honor system here. You say you're not you say you're vaccinated and you're not going to wear a mask, then they're going to believe you. And if you say you're vaccinated and you're not, well, they're also still going to believe you, because that's how it goes.
Well, as a member of the broadcast team, I still have to go. I'm vaccinated. I still have to go get a COVID test tomorrow. Right. And when I'm on the field, when I'm on camera, I do not have to wear a mask. When I'm off camera, it's strongly recommended that I'm wearing my mask. And that's also because of my proximity to everyone on the field. And then I guess even during on-camera interviews at this point, right, I still need to be wearing a mask, even though I'll be 6 feet away. So, yes. But this could all change. Right. But at least I get to be there, so it is very, I feel the same way that some people might feel, but it's like, if you feel uneasy, wear your mask, yeah.
Hopefully everybody sort of abides by all that. And I hope that all of our listeners are at least honest with all that stuff. So please go enjoy. We want everybody there. I can't wait to see people. I will take pictures with you. Come up and say hi to me. I'm absolutely there at halftime, and I will do my best to get to everybody. But just go enjoy this thing. Clear bag policy still in effect. Accessing your tickets, all of them are going to be on the AXS app. You're basically they said swiping a credit card or driver's license will no longer be permitted. They're trying to go no contact with all this stuff. So fans should download and log into the LA Galaxy app, AXS app, prior to arriving at the stadium, ensure all their pre-purchase parking passes and tickets are accessible. 1-877-3-GALAXY if you have any problems. The Galaxy Express shuttle, I learned from Long Beach Transit today that would be back in, and this seems to say that it also will be back. So the Harbor Gateway Transit Center, the Galaxy Express will be running that. Also, I think from the Del Amo station, that will be running as well. The parking options, if you plan to park on site, we encourage you to pre-purchase parking. That's kind of one of those things. Use parking gates A and B from Avalon or gate D from Victoria Street to access the stadium. We talked about the welcome home tailgate, the Juneteenth celebration, concessions. Fans can enjoy a $2 pregame discount off of draft Modelo's through the LA Galaxy app up until kickoff at stand 7 across from section 135. Throughout the match, fans will be able to order concessions through the LA Galaxy app and have them ready for pickup at designated concession stands. This is actually a fun one, and I read this. Merchandise. People have been asking when the store in front of the stadium is going to be open. It's going to be open, Nikki. That's what it says here. Unless they change it, that's where we're at. The LA Galaxy team stores inside the stadium located near the northeast entrance and on the south end of the stadium, as well as outside of the stadium in Legends Plaza, will be open on game day. Cashless experience as much as possible. I think we covered all. Yeah, we got it. There we go. That's all the stuff. So that's what you can expect.
Bring your game face.
That's right. That's right. So you can get all this stuff. You can do all this stuff. Again, bring your mask with you if you want to. If you're fully vaccinated, you don't have to. Everything is sort of in that recommended. And Ben in the chat room says, Josh must have been in rural Maryland. In the DC, Baltimore suburb, masks are still very common in public. Yes, Ben, I was in very rural Southern Maryland. I was in the sticks, Ben.
Wait, Josh.
Yes.
We have failed to address one very important topic.
Yes.
It's National Mascot Day. And we didn't.
Cosmo? It's National Mascot Day today?
Yes.
We should have got Cosmo for an interview. I mean, that was my fault.
Listen,
I didn't know.
This should have led the show.
It should have been. We should have been eating tacos and talking to Cosmo. That should have been the most important. Thank you for bringing that up, Nikki. I had no idea.
That's what I'm here for,
I am disappointed in myself once again. I've always said that one of these days I will get, Cosmo on the show. I'm gonna figure out how to do it eventually. We'll figure all that stuff out. So
from us to you, Cosmo, happy National Mascot Day.
Absolutely, 100%. The best mascot in all of sports, as far as I think. That's my unbiased opinion, of course. One more thing from MERS, a special edition exclusive since 96 tee available at the merch table, limited print. So if you go see MERS, limited print. There it goes. How many hundreds of dollars have you spent on concert tickets, Nikki? Because they are selling concert tickets again, and it's really hard for me not to buy them.
It's so difficult. And then also now, during COVID, flight prices were so down. There were no concert tickets. And now I'm looking at everything being like, oh, life's expensive.
Yeah, I was going to say, being in seclusion sometimes it helped the pocketbook. Although I was rolling through Amazon deliveries like crazy, so I don't know if that's the case. But I got tickets to a concert in September. I was so excited. I'm
what
really
one?
I'm a big. Everybody on this show should know. But I grew up a huge Something Corporate fan, and the lead singer of that is Andrew McMahon. I know nobody knows who this is. That's fine.
Yeah. I'm learning. We're learning on this podcast.
So Andrew McMahon was the lead singer in that. He went off and did Andrew in the Wilderness. My son's name is Jacob Andrew Guesman for that reason, and so we try to go to his shows any chance I get. And so he's playing at the Observatory, which used to be known as the Galaxy Theater in Costa Mesa.
Cool.
Actually, it's in Santa Ana. And so it's at the Observatory, which is like the local place. And so he's bigger than like people think. It's just, you've heard his song, Nikki. You just don't know. I'll send you.
Okay.
I'll send you.
I'm looking forward to this one.
You'll know. So anyway, yeah. See, Antonio knows. He's laughing at my Something Corporate. See, I know, Antonio. I still have the shirts.
Antonio, I gotta get with it.
I still have the shirts. So that's where we're set. Let's go now to what you've all been waiting for, is the LA Galaxy versus Seattle Sounders. This is a 6 p.m. game time on Spectrum SportsNet with Miss Nikki K, Kobe Jones, Joe Tutino, the holy trinity there for on the sidelines and in the booth for the LA Galaxy game. So that's where you can watch it if you're not going to this game. I will tell you, there's tickets available. you can still go to this game if you want to. The LA Galaxy 5-2-0 versus the Seattle Sounders 5-0-3, battle of the top teams in Major League Soccer. And not only that, but the battle of Chicharito versus Raul Ruidiaz. Chicharito has 7 goals, Ruidiaz has 6. Seattle is undefeated this season, but hasn't won in their last 2 meetings, Nikki. The Galaxy are 1-4-2 in their last 7 games against Seattle. And the last time the Galaxy won was at Dignity Health Sports Park against Seattle. 9/23, September 23rd, 2018 was the last time the LA Galaxy beat the Seattle Sounders. It's been a little while in all this stuff. And so that's sort of where we set up all this stuff. I mean, I went back to try to find Seattle's last regular season loss. Their last regular season loss was last year, November 1st of 2020 at Colorado. That was a 3-1 loss. And if you're trying to look at their last loss, just in terms of how good Seattle is, just in case everybody just has forgotten for some reason, you wiped 2020. Their last loss that didn't come in the regular season but came in the postseason was an MLS Cup loss to Columbus. That's the team that you're going up against. Nikki, Greg Vanney was talking about the Seattle team and called them, this mature team. I know Larry Morgan asked him the question, why are the Seattle Sounders such a what did he say? It was alliteration. It was an F and an F. It was something foe. But anyway, I remembered I heard Larry say it and I was like,
formidable foe?
Formidable foe. That is what it is. Miss Nikki Keg saves the day. Yeah, absolutely. So Larry asked formidable foe, and Greg had this big long answer, which I love whenever Greg gets on a roll, and talked about the maturity of this team. So what do you see from this game?
Well, and something that really stands out to me too, after their first loss of the season, when you're looking for a measuring stick on what it means to lose 3-0 to them. And I think it was even an answer to a question you asked, Josh, where he's like, Seattle is the standard of this league, right? Mm-hmm. And that's something that's stuck with me when looking at the Galaxy's 2 losses, right? And then you kind of, I don't want to say discount the one to the Timbers, but when you're losing a man out there, it means something as well. I don't know. It's interesting because there seemed to be so much wrong against Seattle that you would hope that the simple fixes could maybe turn the tide a little bit in the Galaxy's favor. Whether it was the defense or the attack, but what was happening, I think, Seattle can turn you over really easily, and right. Because they're so experienced, and they flip that. If you're not careful with your possession, they flip that into a really quick counterattack, and then when you also have a defense that's learning each other as early as they were in their first meeting, it's disorienting. So right. I think when you look at basically everything that the Galaxy did not right in their first meeting, maybe they've made some strides, and maybe this isn't a 3-0 shutout. Maybe it's not a win, but maybe you see progress being made in the right directions, at least.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I went back to the game notes from that 3-0, and this was a game that Greg tinkered with the lineup a little bit, right? And so he tried. I think he went with 2 forwards up top and tried to create something, that he wanted to see. And so his quote, it's a long one. I won't read the whole thing, but he goes, I think I asked him what his initial thoughts on the game. It might even be my question. He says, I owe a lot of how we set up in the game. He goes, I own a lot of how we set up in the game. I wanted us to get a hold of the ball a little bit more. We had guys in decent spots, but we didn't keep the ball. We didn't get the ball switched from one side to the other side as quickly as we would have liked. We turned it over too much, and then we were exposed. We were too far apart from each other defensively. Our back line wasn't so much connected with our midfield. Front 2 stepping out, and they were able to easily just play through us. We were just disconnected. We didn't defend the widths very well, so that was kind of the theme that kept happening through most of the first half. That Greg has a way of saying the 700 things that went wrong in this game in a very succinct way in like 3 sentences, right?
Well, it's funny, because I listened to that. I'm like, okay, so everything was wrong.
Yeah.
It was, you didn't get the attacking opportunities you wanted. You turned the ball over, and the defense was disconnected.
Yeah.
So where is, and if all of that was wrong, and if you could fix 1 or 2 legs of that wobbly stool or broken stool, and maybe you can just kind of teeter on it to hold yourself afloat, long enough to maybe capitalize on a lucky opportunity against this back line, which is a formidable foe.
Absolutely, 100%. Larry and his alliteration every time. The man's a genius. He's been doing this for a long time. So, yeah, I mean, again, we talk so much about it's funny. I have a preview sheet that I do for most games. I'll show it to our video audience if they want to see it. But I have a preview sheet.
I like that.
And I go through and I list the best player on the team, right? You always want to know who the best player is. So for Seattle, I was like, well, I mean, it's Rui Diaz, but it's also not Rui Diaz. It's the Roldans. Well, but it's also Brad Smith. And Brad Smith was a huge thorn in the side of the LA Galaxy when a lot of this happened. There's still, I don't know, I believe Stefan Cleveland is still going to be in goal, but I don't know if Stefan Fry got enough rest and is healthy again. I haven't seen that whole thing, and I've been trying to follow the Seattle injuries and the whole things. We know Jordan Morris is out, that type of thing. But they haven't missed a step. I mean, Cleveland has 2 shutouts since he came in and played, in his game. So this Seattle defense is extremely difficult. This is the measuring stick. I'm with you, Nikki. I don't know how this game turns out. I mean, I have a feeling the Galaxy lose this game. But I think that if you don't have it be as lopsided as it was, and remember, there were 2 goals in 2.5 minutes, I think.
Yes.
In that first game. That's what broke the LA Galaxy. That third goal, I always said, just throw that out. It doesn't matter. That's not a thing to worry about, because the Galaxy were trying to push and trying to get a goal back and do all that, and they didn't get it done. I understand that. Seattle is the most dangerous team in Major League Soccer. They're number 1 for a reason. Maybe they haven't played it their last 2 games, and maybe the LA Galaxy can find them slipping up. But Greg Vanney said this team doesn't make mistakes. And I think that's really, they're going to be able to manage this game on as much as possible. And Mike Gray, which is great. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it, buddy. Goes in the chat room, says that Alex Roldan got called up by the El Salvador national team. So without Alex, there's still Christian you have to worry about. Raul Ruidiaz got called into Peru and then was there with the World Cup qualifiers, and then for some reason he didn't make the Copa America team, and so he's back, so he'll be in for this game. Hey, I used to make fun of teams, Nikki, who would always say, oh, well, I'm glad David Beckham's not playing. I don't want to play against, the best player. I'm like, no. I want the team at full strength every single time. Let's see them all out there, and then let the chips fall where they are. You don't want injuries or those things to sort of affect these things. So, if Seattle's the best team on the day, then they should win. So this is going to be a really, really interesting game for me. I just want to see, just give me the measuring stick, back the LA Galaxy up against that cupboard door, and let's see how much they've grown since the last time that we had them, right?
Absolutely. No, I completely agree with you. And I think if you're a fan of this team and knowing the quality of the opponent that's coming into Dignity Health Sports Park, you just want to see the Galaxy make the game closer than it was the first go around. And I know that goes without saying, but at the same time, all the dominoes are stacked in a certain way that it's going to be a tough task for this squad. But it'll also be really intriguing to see, and especially talking about the obsessive and the perfectionist personality of Greg Vanney. When he came out that first match and said, I own a lot of this loss. Well, he's probably been stewing over it since. Right. So what is he going to come out with?
Yeah, he's got a Seattle voodoo doll in his closet somewhere. I'm sure. Well, also with Toronto, there were those battles with Seattle in the MLS Cups as well. So, I mean, he wants to get this right, and he wants the players. Greg is going to set this team up now, I think, in a much different way than he would have, obviously, in that first game. And he has a little bit more knowledge. He's gained these little pebbles of knowledge. He's put them in a sack. He's sort of been like, okay, I'm building this. I can sort of understand. And this is one of those games where he's going to lay those all out on the table, and he's going to pick his most dangerous one that he thinks. Now, without Derek Williams, that's an issue. Possibly a Sega Coulibaly debut in this game. In fact, I would kind of lean on that and count on that, just in terms of who they have available and where that goes. A return of Victor Vasquez possibly to a starting lineup. Sebastian Lletget in a starting lineup. I mean, there's a lot of things that, Efrain Alvarez may not start this game because they're going to have a midfield that is there. But we have the question mark around Jonathan Dos Santos as well, and whether or not he plays. And usually you'd see somebody like Carlos Harvey come in and sort of maybe fill that defensive role better than, an Adam Saldana or anything else. And so, how do they sort of make up for that? Then you have Kevin Cabral, you have Grandsir, you have Chicharito. There's a good chance you're going to see a very strong LA Galaxy lineup come out, maybe stronger than we've seen all year, if we anticipate Sega Coulibaly being that sort of next step guy where, he may be a starter here in the very near future.
Yes, absolutely. By the way, I love Sega's energy. Love that.
Sega's so much fun.
Yeah, I'm here for it. So
well, it was funny because you got the first question on him, and
Yeah.
I think we were all sort of like, well, we don't know how this is going to go, the whole deal. But Sega comes in, gives us a thumbs up. You get to talk to him, and the guy lights up, and it's just like, oh, this is going to be fun. Okay, cool. Let's get Then I was like, oh, I have a question. Let's ask
I'll
questions.
tell you, minutes before he sits down, I'm Googling how to say happy birthday in French. So I hit him with the bon anniversaire off the top. And I think I could have probably said it in a more casual way. That was just the first thing I saw. But, he was like, merci, merci. I was like, all right, we're in it.
That's right. You did well. You and Larry had some French with one of the French players as well. I think with Grand Sierra. And I was like, Larry, where are you getting this? He's like, oh, I took French in high school. I'm like, and you still remember it? Okay, cool. Thanks, Larry. Very fun.
I'm the same boat as Larry, high school French.
I took Spanish and I can't speak that either. So that's where we sit. Let's see. My policy is that I get to guess on games. I don't know what's your policy. You're calling the game. So if you can't, that's fine. I will tell you that I think the LA Galaxy lose this game, and now the chat room gets all angry at me. I think they lose it probably by a 2-1 score. Yes, listen, I think there's going to be steps here. I think there's going to be positives to take away, and that's what I'm looking for. But Seattle's still Seattle. Greg says you have to run through them in order to win a championship, and I get that. And right now, I don't know if the Galaxy are ready to run, sort of cut off the snake's head of Seattle in this. So for me, I think 2-1 loss. But I think there's a lot of positives to be able to take with this and then go into that Wednesday game and then go into that next Saturday game. So out of these next 3 games, I'm looking at 6 points. 7 points would be amazing. 9 points would be out of this world, but I really want to see 6 points. And I'd even probably be okay with 4 points because going to San Jose is a tough place to play as well. So sort of looking at that a whole, where I sit, it feels too soon to be sort of, you're going to be able to take on Seattle, but that's where I'm feeling. So
absolutely. I won't make a prediction, but I've also been looking at like the greater trends. I mean, we talked about what happened against Seattle, but where this team is trending right now, I like what we're seeing from the defense, first 2 clean sheets, right? And then in terms of the identity of the attack, I think we're seeing something coming together, more players being involved, those chances not necessarily being punched in.
Right.
But I would hope that despite a 3-week break, those chances are still coming. Maybe they are not being punched in quite yet again. But I would like to see the Galaxy be aggressive. They want to be an attacking team and not get turned over. So we'll see, and Greg says it begins with pressuring those 2 wide center backs, and we'll see what he draws up for that.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Yeah, I agree. eSuper says Seattle winning is not a gimme. It's not a gimme. I think this is gonna be a difficult to play game, but Seattle is very, very good at managing these away games, right? And so they have the maturity there. I want to see that maturity from the LA Galaxy now. Tell me that you're learning. Show me that you're learning. Show me that you know how to break down a defense that is one of the best defenses in Major League Soccer. If you can do that, then I really think that there's going to be something to this LA Galaxy game. So again, LA Galaxy versus Seattle Sounders coming up 6 p.m., 6:08 kickoff time on Spectrum SportsNet if you're watching on TV. Otherwise, you should be at the stadium. And this should be a really interesting game. Number 1 in Major League Soccer versus number 4 overall in the Supporters Shield. Number 1 versus 3 in the Western Conference. So I don't think you can ask for much more. And then away the LA Galaxy go with 3 games in that next 8 days. So a busy schedule for the Galaxy coming up here very soon. All right, Nikki, anything else that you want to get to? By the way, before we even get there, thank you for coming on. You did an amazing job. You were very comfortable. The chat room was giving you all sorts of plaudits and high fives. So you did great. But anything else that you want to talk about before we go?
No, just that I'm incredibly grateful and excited to be a part of this family. Thank you for having me on. If you guys see me around the stadium, please come up, say hi. I tend to hug now that we can hug. I'm a hugger. I'm a high fiver. So I'm really excited to meet and get to know every one of you. And if I say something wrong, please correct me and know that it comes out of love and excitement. So I'm just so thrilled to be part of this corner of the galaxy.
See, See, that's why we did it. That was good. By the way, next time you come on, and I assume that there will be a next time, we're gonna have you do a dramatic game preview. So we will get you ready for that next time. So we'll give you the music and everything, and you'll have to do our, Sunday dramatic game preview. So next time, that'll be on the cards for that. All right, Nikki, why don't you tell people where they can find you, and we'll get on out of here.
Awesome. You can follow me on Twitter at NikkiKSN1 for Spectrum News 1. And you can follow me on Instagram. I'm Lil Nikki K, and it's lil.nikki.k. Come chat with me.
There we go.
I'll see you guys Saturday.
Very good. Thanks, Nikki. We
wait,
appreciate
Josh, we have one more thing.
Oh, wait.
Ready?
Wait. No, wait. Hold on. Wait.
Guys, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, good. If you're looking for me, you'll have to watch the video to catch that. If you're looking for me on Twitter, it's at Guesman, JGUESMAN, and of course at Galaxy Podcast. Head on over cornerofthegalaxy.com. Podcasts, game previews, videos, all that fun stuff is right there for you. Cornerofthegalaxy.com is where you can find it. All right, everybody. Games, Seattle, LA Galaxy, Dignity Health Sports Park, Saturday, June 19th, 6 p.m. Spectrum SportsNet. That's where you want. All right, for Miss Nikki K, I'm Josh Guesman. You've been listening. You've been watching to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast, and be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.